Alright, hello and welcome to a series I'm going to be doing called Islamic Patterns. I don't know what the name of it's going to be, but it's going to be about Islamic patterns. So I'm going to show you how to fold a very basic 4-fold, 8-fold. So the symmetry of the grid is 4-fold, but the pattern is 8-fold. So we're going to see what that means as we go along the series, and we're going to see how to incorporate the different ideas and have fun with it. So the pattern I'm going to teach you is pretty basic. It's a lot of fun. It has some unusual shapes, kind of. I'm going to turn this paper I have here into a square. It's going to be the first order of business. So I take the short side and I put it on the long side like that. Now I turn it over. We're going to take away everything that is not a square. We're taking advantage of the fact that we live in a society, and a civilized one is that just gives away willy-nilly and freely parallelograms. So there are already 4 right angles implied in this thing. I'm going to unfold it completely now. I'm going to turn this mountain fold I have here into a valley. So now this fold is both folds. It's both mountain and valley, right? You can do this, you can do that, you can do both. And I'm going to cut it away. This is why we fold it both ways, because now the fibers are weakened. We've talked about this. Doesn't matter. Anyway, alright, so now I have here my trusty square. So now I'm going to first show you I'm just going to do the whole thing as though we were just beginning. So I'm going to establish the first rule of this pattern, and that's going to be that the center is going to be an 8-fold division. So I'm going to inscribe an 8-fold division right there. So far I have a 2-fold division. It's not 4-fold, it's 2-fold. The reason why it's 2-fold is because from the center there are 4 lines. So whatever our divisions are, half of it is the number of divisions it has. And it expresses this 2-foldness like this. This is why it's 2-fold, not 4-fold, because we have these 2 little bulges there happening. Right? So now I need to turn this 4-fold into this 2-fold into a 4-fold, and then that 4 into an 8. So the way I like to go about this is inscribing the vertical and horizontal lines in the same state as the diagonal. So if my diagonals are mountains, the folds I'm going to do are also going to be mountains. Right? So because I turned the paper over, now the folds are inverted. Cool. So now this is a 4-fold division. If we want to see how it's 4-fold, we need to turn half of the lines into the opposite state. Right? So now this is why, even though there are 8 fragments to the center, it's going to be a 4-fold division. So you actually have options regarding how you want to go about this. Me personally, I like to get my 8-fold by dividing each of these segments in half, so having both of them be mountains and then doing like this. Right, by bisecting this, and then this line just goes all the way across. That's one way of doing it. The other way of doing it would be to actually use the 4-fold division, like this, and just open it up and bring it down like this. I think I can kill some of the excessive lighting here. So this is another way of bisecting, but it's through this fold. I think it's called a squash. And the idea is that the spine of this fold, so to say, this thing, when we push it down, you see that if I don't open it up, it does this thing. But if I do open it up so that it goes both ways, you see the difference? It starts going down and it hits the spine, hits on the division line like that. And then this fold is a mountain because of the way that we folded it, so we just need to turn this into a valley simply by just activating this fold to the side and then going back. You see, and now it can do this thing. I've heard this movement be referred to as a little miracle. So there's going to be two different types of faces. There's going to be the face which is cut off like this, and the face which is complete like this. So now we have to open it up completely. And also, I guess here we can appreciate how this is an 8-fold division, because there's going to be 8 of these little segments thing going around the center. So now we open it up, and this is why we refer to this as a 4-fold pattern, because it's inside of a square and the square is 4. Nonetheless, our division is in 8. So we're going to take some measures in order to ensure that the construction is repeating when we do the thing. So you can skip the following steps if you wish, just to have the basic tile, but I'm just going to assume that we want to multiply this thing. So a way we can easily multiply is simply by taking the vertices and placing them on the center, like this. So vertices center, vertices center, like that. So if I turn it over, I still have my 8-fold division, only that I've copied more area into this thing. So whatever I do on this face is going to copy over to these segments of the thing. But we can do one further. So let's go ahead and do one further. The more information we're able to place on the pattern, I think the better it'll look. So of course we could keep this algorithm going, this repetition of just center, just vertice to center as many times as we wish. We just have to take into account the layers that we produce. So now it's this thing. Alright, so we pretty much constructed a fortune teller. Pretty much. However, we can't see the 8-fold divisions anymore. We actually need those. Right? We don't see them on each of these sides. So what we need to do is unfold it completely. We unfold. And now the objective is to have this folded up in such a way that we still have everything collapsed the way we had it, but we get to see this square at the same time. So what we do is we apply what I call pressure points. So it's these pressure points that we're going to use. So pressure point, we click on this, we click on that one. You can see how this thing just starts to now, and we get to see it, right? That's the objective. So we turn it over and we do another squash like this to bring this down. Similar to how we did the 8-fold. I used to do this fold a lot when I was a kid. I used to be obsessed with folding this thing, because this is the way that you could keep this going. Because now you can actually, again, take the vertice to the center and just keep it going, if you wanted to. But let's stop here. Just for practical purposes, let's stop here in terms of subdividing. So the pattern we're going to do is actually quite simple. It's super simple. And the idea simply is to inscribe an octogram, an 8-2 octogram in these divisions. So just not going to take you through the technicalities, just going to show you how to do it. We're going to take actually the vertices towards the center. Even though I said we weren't, we are going to do that. So vertices center, all of them. And notice that I folded towards the center also the little extra. You can see that when I start to do it, I make sure that the underside pops out. It's not supposed to be perfect, it's just supposed to be clear. Again, we could, well, we're not going to, so I'm not even going to bother explaining this. Now I need to fold this back, and I want to make sure that these folds I did also get turned down. I don't want to leave them up. I want to leave these folded back down. So now I have this. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the vertices and place them on the division that's here on the corner, on the edge here. This division right there, where that hits, where this 8-fold hits, I'm going to take the vertice and land it onto there. Vertice and land it here, and of course you have the advantage that this is happening on both sides. So pretty advantageous for us. Boom, just like that. One, and we do it for all of them. And there you can see the octogram sort of coming into play. This is what it's usually referred to in the West as the bread of the compassionate. We have an octogram center and we have these crosses at the corners here. But the pattern we're going to do today isn't like this that much. So the objective now, and this is pretty trippy, but the idea is to take this shape and complete a square here. So the idea now is to do a fold that connects these 2 points. So it's this. Let me take out a pen. Hold on, give me just a second. Should have my pens with me in the game. There we are. So the idea now is to do a fold that goes through here and here. So a fold that goes through these 2 points. So you can see that it's not going to land exactly there, but what is interesting is that when you do this fold, the excess will show up on this intersection here. There's going to be a nice little, you can even see it on the shadow a little bit, but there's an intersection that is happening there, and that is the key. There is an intersection here. There's where this line is meeting and that line is meeting. You can see that exactly where these 2 lines are meeting, and also over here where this line is meeting the other one. And so that's the fold. And now we have to take everything else and just fold it up onto that line. So we take this and we fold it up. We take this guy and we fold it up, and this thing we fold it back. So just make sure that everything is folded on this line. And we unfold completely, and we do the same thing for now, for these points over here. So now it's going to be this one and this one. This is already complete. Again, I'm using these shadows, these as references. So when I fold it and it matches to the intersection, that's where I'm going to go. And then, of course, here and here, and then finally it's going to be here and here. So just these. And that pretty much does it. Like, we have all the information of the pattern is already inscribed here. Only I missed this line. I missed apparently. I noticed the fold wasn't going through the points. It's very important that the fold goes through the points, so match your intersections accordingly, properly. So, okay, we got it now. So I'm gonna go ahead and just write down this pattern the way that we want to do it. So it's gonna be, from here it's gonna go up and then across all the way. And this thing goes here, and then, well, it really depends on how you want to do it. You can just keep this, just this segment there. You can see how this is a fourfold pattern because this pattern repeats on this unit. So this is the segment that is going to be actually repeating, and it's in a little square. Although the symmetry is 4, you will have 8. So again, you can also imagine this pattern to be like this. This is actually how I find it around here, with this line inscribed. So we just go ahead and just inscribe it all the way, so this line just goes through, because we have to then imagine that this little thing is being repeated on all. So if you wanted to cut it, actually, you can just simply like inscribe it then in a further 4, and here just mark a little outline and then just cut through it. And if you're able to cut through all the layers, then you've done. But you can also be, aware that the more layers you do, the more likely it is that you will create inaccuracy. So it's sometimes better to just leave yourself some space. You can see also how the folds that we just did are now coming into play, that the lines are just completely drawn like that all the way, just connecting the dots. Right, so now it's this pattern. So when I unfold it, all the lines are going to be on all the layers that are underneath. At least that's the idea. So it's a pretty simple pattern. Let's open it up so you can appreciate how it is. Now, to make this into an origami form, actually, like to use this as a circuit is a feat or an interesting thing in and of itself. So I'm going to leave that for a later video. Now for the outer layers, I'm going to use a different color. Where's my red? Here's my, well, no, let's use black. So so I have to be aware of that. I'm trying to repeat this blue. So it's this square that's being repeated. It's this square, then it's going to be repeating in a mirror type form. In the sense that this is going to go through into this cross like that, just the same as this one is, and then go out into the whole thing. Just go out all the way. You can see there, well, that's the reference I used before. But then you start to see how the shapes start coming into play. You get this sort of elongated with the little kaye looking thing. And the pattern itself, if you were to keep these lines going, you would create another pattern inside of this one. And that's actually quite interesting, that this holds all the necessary information for further elaboration of the pattern. So what I'm going to do next actually is I'm just going to fold the entire line, just the whole line of the blue lines. We're just going to fold them entirely so I can use them as a sort of ruler. Or, I can just save on time and just not do that and just be very careful. Actually, I don't want to bleed on the table. So what I'm trying to see is where the points are of contact, like where these points are that I've inscribed, right? Like these black points, finding them across the paper. See, I'm gonna go ahead and do that just in case, because you never should take anything as obvious, especially in these kinds of things. It's best not to assume anything. Okay, so again, you want to keep track of these squares, right? These red squares that I am marking here. You want to find these black points that I'm also marking. So in this case, the black points get marked here and here, right? They get mirrored. And these get mirrored as well to here. And this one gets mirrored over here. And this gets mirrored over here. And this one gets mirrored over here. You can sort of see, you can use the red lines as sort of a reference to the mirroring that's occurring. You can even see that this is actually a regular octagon. These 8 points are all from here being equally spawned. So what's interesting is that if I were to continue these lines, if I were to actually fold them, if I wanted to, I can start to see that it's gonna describe a bigger star. And therefore the suggestion is that I could keep finding more iterations of this being a kaye, of a double square kaye. Other kinds of patterns are coming to the forefront now. And there's all kinds of things that we can do with this. But let's just leave it to the basics. How long is this video now? We are at 21 minutes now. It shouldn't take this long to fold this thing. I'm just gonna go ahead and just finish this up because it's criminal that it take this much of your time. I think I messed up here. Yeah, I should have stopped. Boom. I went over here a little bit. I knew it. That pretty much does it. So, you know, we haven't used the pattern itself as anything like for twisting or anything like that, or as a system of folds we can use, but the lines themselves are, you know, pretty indicative of something deeper. But I'm going to leave that as an exercise to the folder. And yeah, so I'll see you next time. We're going to fold something else, but I'm going to give you just a little bit of a clue. If we were to use these as twists, which is actually sort of where this would be headed, I would recommend, you can even see how if I take exactly this away, do you see that? Do you see just how beautifully the pattern just makes another pattern? Just by using this red line here and just taking that away immediately. Like, and this shape is the same shape, like it's the same ratio. Isn't that beautiful? And then you get another kind of iteration of the pattern. You can also do it on the other side. And you get a whole new pattern. Just like that. Just by adding some nice little folds. And this actually also in the canon, this one. So pretty cool thing, pretty cool way of just keeping it going. And yeah, well, just as a final note, if you were to do it here as well, you actually get the choice of where you want this to go. I mean that if you want this thing to show or not to show. You know what I mean? You can cut this off there, you can make this go like that. So I think that's also pretty cool, you get that choice. So once you have all four inscribed, yeah, I said I wasn't going to do this, but hey. Once you have all four inscribed, then the idea is that you start to pop them out like this. You see? And now the challenge is to activate them all at the same time. And this is just your standard twist. The idea, or at least how I go about this part of the pattern, is just to have everything be flat. Like, that's the objective, make everything flat. And also you have to respect the circuits of the thing. So now we have this. Now if we wanted to, we could just squish these little bolts, this thing that is just like extruding there, and just push them in. But they kind of get in the way. This is also a squash. They kind of get in the way of the lines of the pattern that we drew. A little bit. So what we can do is we can open it up, or we just turn it around and you can sort of see the lines that are there. But what we can do, and we should do, is rather to, instead of having the twists be on this side, sort of turn it over and do the twists on the other side. So just do exactly the same thing, but just inverting the folds of the channel. So this is the channel. Just inverting these folds like that. And now repeating this process. And we already should have all the necessary information. And the reason why we do this is so that the squash is not getting in the way of the lines that we drew. Now this is a very unusual form of origami because we are in fact just constructing a geometrical pattern in the lines themselves. We're not trying to use origami wool. I stand corrected because we are trying to use the folds to discover new ways of this pattern, sort of showing us something that is hiding, which I think is still pretty cool. But usually pens and markers are not used, usually. And so now the squash is behind and we get to see this whole new pattern, which is kind of cool. But, you know, it's still not, I mean, it's there, the idea is there. But I guess on the back side is where I would see more of what I was trying to show, I think. So yeah, for instance, I could, on the back here, just write down the shapes that I wanted to just accentuate more. Do I want to keep that one? Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, I'm just going to go ahead and just inscribe it like that. Well, one of the rules that I like to keep is that the pattern will always need to flow. Like, these lines always need to keep going. Always keep going. Also nice is that the twist lands exactly on this vertex you see there. So a whole new pattern. So if we had, I'm missing one of these lines, yeah. So if we had tracing paper, we could use this as the basis for, you know, reproducing and keeping this pattern going, etc., etc. So yeah, I think this is pretty cool. It's a lot of fun to do. So I hope you enjoy it. Hope you have a good time as I did making it. And I'll catch you guys in the next video. So take care and have fun. Yeah, comment, like, subscribe, the whole deal. You know how it is out here on YouTube. It's a beautiful day here in Granada, Spain. And I'm gonna go take a walk, gonna go get something to eat. And catch you later, guys. Take care.